Okay, everyone, let's continue. And now we are in section 10, configuration management. If we would like to give a definition for configuration management, we will say it is a mechanism for maintaining characteristics of a system. What does this mean? Mechanism means automation. So we need to have automation for maintaining the characteristic of a system. And what's characteristics? It is the desired state. So actually, configuration management is automation for maintaining desired state of a system. What is desired state? Desired state may be from VLAN, from a networking perspective, maybe running OSPF in area 0 and make some interfaces with belong to this area, creating some VLAN and assign it to some interfaces. And the system here, not necessary to be a system, it could be systems. So how to create OSPF areas, VLAN, and assign it to interfaces to one system or multiple systems in an automated way. This is configuration management. And for sure, I need tools to help me to do that. Sometimes we call it DevOps tools for sure. When it comes to configuration management, we have tools like Ansible, Puppet, Terraform. We can consider it also a configuration management. But in general, some people will consider Terraform orchestration. And some people will consider Terraform a part of the story, that creating for us virtual machines, maybe creating for us virtual router, CSR1K or something, or 8000, Catalyst 8000V right now. Then we can use Ansible or Puppet to configure these devices. We can do it like this. Or I can use Ansible, or I can use this Terraform application to create virtual machines and put some configuration on them, or go to them and put some configuration. You can do that also. So I can use Terraform to create VMs, then I can create Ansible using Ansible and Puppet as a second step to put some configuration. That doesn't mean that Terraform is not a configuration tool. Terraform can also, for sure, can create configurations for you. These VMs may be not VMs, maybe ACI solution, and these are not VMs. This is ACI solution, and they have ABIC. And in this case, Terraform will go to the ABIC and create tenant for me with subnets and endpoint groups and whatever they like. For the tools, you will see before we go deeper with Terraform, just remember something, that the three common one here is Ansible, Chef, Puppet. Ansible is using is a tool that's built and based in Python, while Puppet and Chef is based on Ruby. The file that you are going to use to push the configuration to network devices is called playbook in Ansible. In Chef, we call it cookbooks or recipes, manifests. in Bobbit. The main difference between Bobbit Chef and Ansible that Ansible is agentless. What is agentless? It means that I don't need to install any agent in my devices. Whatever here I'm talking about, Windows Server, Linux servers, routers, switches from any vendor. Ansible doesn't need that. He only need by default SSH connection with the right SSH credential to talk with the device and push the configuration. Chef and Bobbit need an agent, need a small application to be installed. Normally with Bobbit it was an issue till we start supporting containers in our network devices so I can install the agent as a container in my network device. More about them will be when we talk about Ansible especially. And now let's talk about Terraform. Terraform is considered one of our infrastructure as a code tool. And we understand what is infrastructure as a code in the previous session. Now I would like to talk about two terms here, declarative and imperative. Declarative is simply means that my desired state in a system will be defined without defining exactly what is the commands that we are going to use to have this desired state. What does this mean? It means simply that imagine that you will go to a device and say, hey, I would like to have OSPF area 0. And I would like to see these three interfaces belong to this OSPF area 0. And that's it. Did I mention that you should type router OSPF 1 as a process ID? Then I need to go to these interfaces and type router OSPF 1 area 0. Then the other one. I'm not mentioning the commands here. This is called declarative, and Terraform is working with this way. Again, this is great. This is make the change. You remember when we give a definition for net DevOps, I said it will make changes, something happening daily, and it is not complex, it's simple. And yeah, because all what I need to do is just saying what is my desired state, and Terraform will be responsible to execute the steps if needed in my machine or in my machines. Imperative here means I will define the commands or the set of the commands that I needed. In another meaning, I will say that you need to write or you need to execute this OSPF command. You need to go to the interfaces, type these commands on it to enable OSPF on it. This is called imperative, and this is like Ansible and Bobbit and other tools. By the way, Ansible, sometimes we consider it also declarative for some scenarios. We can talk about it later. So Terraform is coming from a company called Hash Group, and it is open source. I would like to mention here that it is not only open source, we have also Terraform Cloud. And today, Cisco is going to announce a new integration between Cisco Intersite. You know, Cisco Intersite is a cloud-based solution to manage your some components in your data center like UCS and these stuff. And it is now fully integrated with Terraform Cloud solution. So Terraform Cloud and Cisco Intersite now are integrated with each other. Anyway, the Terraform that we are talking about here is the open source one. Terraform files will be using a HashiCorp configuration language or JSON, but normally we use the HashiCorp language. Terraform is written with Go language, and it can be installed in Windows, Mac, Linux, any type of operating system. And frankly speaking, you don't need to install it. You just need to download it, because if I need to install Terraform for Windows, it will be just a terraform.exe file. And all what I need to do is putting this file in my working directory. Then I will go to this working directory. From the CMD, I will start running Terraform commands that can make Terraform do the things for me. So you don't need to install it using MSI, RBM, DBM, or ABT in Linux machines. So what will happen in Terraform? Terraform, first of all, is doing the same thing that some other tools is doing it for you when you are in the cloud. Um, like, for example, AWS CloudFormation. If you are a cloud guy and you are using AWS as your public cloud, and you would like to have some type of automation and configuration management using a declarative tool like Terraform, AWS is providing you with a tool called AWS CloudFormation. But the best thing about Terraform is that it can run in anywhere for any system. Terraform is made of architecture is made of two things. The terraform.exe, this is the file that you are going to download. As I said, you don't need even to install it. It's executable file. This is the core, we call it. And we have plugs in, which is provider and provisioners. Depending on your configuration file that you are going to write, and you will say, for instance, that I would like to talk with ASA as my provider. In this case, this file, terraform.exe, will start to download any plugins he will need to support this ASA. Your configuration file that you are going to create will represent your desired state. So you will mention that you would like to have OSPF area 0 or whatever, what you would like to have. Your configuration file normally will be written in this language, HCL, which is not a big deal, by the way. We call it HashiCorp configuration language. And it will have this extension file, TF file. So you need the Terraform executable file, which is the .exe Terraform, because this is the command. This is the command that you are going to use. Configuration file will be in Terraform file.tf. Providers that going to the plugs in another meaning that going to interact with your provider. Your provider could be AWS, could be UCS, could be a Cisco router, ASA. These are called the providers. And there is plugins will be downloaded in your working directory based in mentioning in the configuration file this provider. Once you finished and once you ready to apply your configuration, there is a file will going to be created. We call it Terraform state file. What is this file? Simply, when you would like to create something, create a configuration in your environment, and this environment specifically will be ASA exist on it, and I would like to send some configuration here in this ASA. What I will do, I will have a folder, and this folder will have my Terraform executable command line, which is the file terraform.exe. I will have my configuration, let's say my desired state.tf. Now, what I'm going to do is asking Terraform, here is my desired state. Terraform will start looking for what you typed in this Terraform file. Normally, you will type two important block of information. in your configuration file here. You will type who is the provider and what is the resources. Provider is your ASA, let's say. Resources is something like creating a static route in your ASA. But you are not giving me the command that need to be run inside the ASA to have, but you are telling me that I would like to have a static route for going to this next hub or whatever. What Terraform is going to do is showing you a plan, showing you exactly what is the command now that he's going to write to make this desired state happen. If you accept it and you apply this plan, he will take all these commands and send it to your provider, your devices, and your ASA and start executing them. Then he will take all what he did and he will save it in a file called Terraform state file. It is normally ending with TFS state, TF state. So I will have here a file called TF state. Now, what is the benefit of this file? The benefit of this file that later, let's assume that you decide to run this file again. He will show you the plan. Then when you apply, he will compare this plan with this file. This is like a baseline. Your Terraform state file, it is like your current configuration or what I just did. So if it is the same thing, I will not apply it. Why I will apply it again? It is telling me my current state. If my current state equal to my desired state will be here in the configuration file, and my current state here in the Terraform state file. If they are equal to each other, it will not do anything. Why wasting our time? Again, DevOps principle lean is happening here. When you download Terraform, put it in your working directory, creating your configuration file. Normally, to tell Terraform that this folder or this working directory is a Terraform folder, you need to type a command called Terraform initiate. Once you type that, the Terraform will start looking for the configuration file, and he will check who's the provider. If it is ASA, I will download a plugin for ASA. So plugin will help me to understand how to communicate with the ASA. If you would like to see a list of providers, see it here. He's giving you a big list of providers. Where is it? Providers, provider documentation. Yeah, you can find it down somewhere. Find the providers list you can have. Let me type here something. Terraform. Should be shown to me here. Anyway, let me show you example for ASA. If I would like to go to my file and say I have a provider, yeah, let me check this link. It's this link that will be working for ASA, but at least does they change the documentation for today. This is working fine. Cisco ASA, it is a provider, and they are telling you if you would like to communicate with ASA, put in your TF file, in your configuration file, this piece of information. This piece of information is simply telling my Terraform that my provider is Cisco ASA. This is this name I need to use it. It is not, it is a standard. Then API URL, this is the IP address or the URL that I will use it to communicate with my ASA. The credential for username and password, checking the certificate if I'm accept because I'm using HTTPS here. I'm saying ignore that checking. I don't need to trust the certificate authority that for the ASA. And this is this is will be helpful when I type Terraform initiate, that he will check what is the provider. ASA, I will start downloading the plugins that help me to communicate with ASA. So this is the first part in your configuration file. The second part will be here, for example, we are saying the provider is ACI, which is your Epic. And here is the username, private key, cert name, URL, just to communicate with them. Now it is time to talk about resources. What is the resources? Resources normally is what you would like to see in the file. And normally resources will start with the word resource. Then you will mention here the resource type, and you will mention the resource name. So I always have the resource type and resource name in the beginning with the word resources. It must be unique within the module itself. If I go to the resources available for ASA from their own website, you can find it here. You will find that they are providing you with these resources. I said static route before. Notice what I have here. Resources, here is a name, here is a type. What is the type of this resource? It is IB version 4 static route. And I'm saying, what is the interface inside? The network is this one. Here's the gateway. So I will create a static route for my inside interfaces for this network and going to this gateway when I need to communicate with this network. This is about, I can create another resource. You can have multiple resources. This is for IB, the type is for IB version 6 static route. Whoops, it is there. So in this example here, for example, I'm creating, this is the example for configuration file for Terraform. And here is my resources. Here is my my resources. I'm creating a network object from the type IB version host. So you know that in ASA you can create objects to use it later with access control list or whatever. And I'm creating, and we have different type of objects. Here I'm creating object from the type IB version 4 host, and I'm giving it this name, then I'm giving it this value. Later in ASA you can just mention my object, and the ASA will understand that you're talking about this host. Anyway, he can do that. He can take the, but notice that I'm not typing ASA commands here. He will convert this to ASA commands. Thanks for the plugs in that he will install it by or download it automatically. So how my main.tf file, for example, it looks like. Here is the provider configuration, and here is my resources. I'm creating three objects actually here. So I'm using resources 3 times. How to use this main.tf? The first thing, you can type Terraform version in your working directory. I will assume that terraform.exe is there. Then you can type Terraform initiate, as we said before. Then you need to type Terraform plan. So I'm typing Terraform init, then Terraform plan. In this case, Terraform will take all the information that I have it in main.tf file and translate it to a command that ASA can understand, and he will show it to me. You agree about it? Okay, let's apply it. So I will type Terraform apply, and done. Now it is sent to my ASA. Once it is sent, he will create this state file that we talk about it with TF state. If you would like to see the content of TF state, by the way, you can type Terraform show to see the content of your TF state. Normally in TF state, he will show you exactly the, in JSON, he will show you all the data that's in. Let's take an example from that. Let me introduce you for another website that's going to be useful for you. It is called Katakuda. You can practice a lot of things here. I'm sharing it with you. You can practice a lot of things, a lot of scenarios related to Docker, Kubernetes. They don't have GitLab, but they have Jenkins here. Anyway, let's type Terraform. They have two scenarios here. Deploy containers using Terraform. Okay, let's start it. We already know containers. Start the scenario. Notice you have your main.tf or your configuration.tf here. And what I need to do, I will type, you just click here, copy to editor. Notice I create a provider. I'm mentioning actually a provider, and I'm saying the provider is Docker. What is the host address for Docker? That hosting Docker for me is here. Then I will type my resources. My resources is going to be Docker image. The image is nginx. Here's the name of it. Then I'm mentioning another resources related to the container. I would like to have a container with this internal open board. I have volumes. We already know about these things from yesterday. Now let's say continue. Now he's telling me show me the plan. There is something very important. Maybe I didn't mention it here when we was talking. Just let me show it to you. You remember I said that. Where is why it's doing this? You remember when I said that? Oh, okay. Okay. Remember when I said Terra? You type Terraform init, then you can type Terraform plan, then you will type Terraform apply. Actually, this is the main three commands that you need. When it comes to plan, and you will see this in your lab, by the way. When you go to your lab, I need to explain what you are going to see. Maybe you will find that the output is very big. It is taking like maybe 5-6 pages. So it is not the right way to see it in the terminal. In this case, you can use a flag called out, then mention a name for a file. This file will be tf flag. When you do this, the output will be saved in this file, so you can read it later. This is actually what he is trying to do here. Terraform plan out. Okay, I will do it. And notice that he showed to me. Here it is not a big deal. We can see it, but in your real lab, in our lab platform, no, it will be big. So, and you can see that he's showing me, he created the file. Sometimes they not show it directly. will have some issues to show it to me quickly. Anyway, he's showing you that he created this file for you. Anyway, now let's apply. I will say apply, Terraform apply, and he should now apply for me the Terraform. Notice once he apply, what he is creating here, Terraform state file. This state file is showing me what he did, what he sent to the Docker side, and he create the container. So because later, if I'm going to apply again this plan, he will check the state and he will say, no, it's the same thing. I don't need to repeat it again. You can type Docker BS and you will find your file. If you would like to inspect the Docker, the Terraform show to see the T state if you would like. Very good website to practice with. Now, before we go for lunch break, I need to finish the Terraform at least, and after lunch break, we will continue with Ansible. Then you can go for labs. Since we extend our labs, Cisco extend our labs for Saturday, so not have issues here. There is some other files that you can see with Terraform if you would like to have. There is a file called variables. This can declare a default values for any variables that you might going to use in your main TF. Remember in main TF, for example, in provider, what we have in our provider, you have username, you have password. You remember we said hard coding your credential or your secrets inside the script or inside the file is not something good. It is good to save it somewhere and call it later so I can save this in variables TF. Here in variables TF, you will mention default values. If you would like to override these default values, you can have another file called Terraform TF vars that's going to have values for the variables. It will have values for the variables that we have in this file, but this file doesn't mean that it is only have variables. It can have also values, but these values is going to be considered a default one. It can be overridden with the ones that we have here. This is the difference between these two files and how to use it. As I said, here I'm talking extra about the command because they didn't explain that much in our official material. You can type Terraform help. You will see all the command that you can type. And the flags. Terraform initiate is very important. Then plan, then apply. Terraform show will show you the current state in the state file. You understand all these things. Now there is another important thing is the data source. Now there is sometimes like what we just saw with ASA. If you notice when I was showing you the ASA website, the ASA website in Terraform website actually, is what I meant. You remember something? Let me see. Do you see the resources? If you're working with ASA, the first thing that will come in your mind is, I have a lot to do in ASA. It is not only about creating objects or access control list or static routes. We have another things that we can do it. But it looks like it is not available here as a resources. Yes, it is not available here as a resources, but it is already available in the system that we are dealing with itself, and we can use the concept of data sources for that. Data source allow Terraform configuration to make use of information defined outside of the Terraform or defined by another Terraform configuration file if you'd like. And instead of using the word resources in this case, I will use data. And I will mention the things here that they have. So data sources can be used for reading and displaying some important information that not exist in our resources by default. But I need to remember that it is not rewritable. It is not read and write ones. Another important things that worth to mention here will be, again, I have these issues. Another important thing before we finish Terraform and go to our lunch break will be the direct I-click graph. Simply, we are saying that you need to understand what you are doing with Terraform. So it's always good to create like a mind map or something that's showing you exactly what you are going to create. If you are going to create a tenant in ASI, okay, if I'm going to create a VRF, I need to put it here for myself. Then if I have bridge domain, ABG, endpoint groups, I need to mention this bridge domain. What is the subnet that's going to be used? Everything should be created and mention it. If one of my end group will be a VM in my XSI, I need to mention it. It is always good. Cisco Terraform provider. Cisco is providing ACI, ASA as a provider. But again, as I said today, Cisco Intersite is now providing um, Cisco Intersite now is providing the capability to communicate with you will see that Cisco Intersite service now it is communicated, it's supported and working with Terraform. Terraform what? Which Terraform? Terraform Cloud for Business. It's called Terraform Cloud. It is infrastructure as a code service in the cloud, not the open source. So, but it is like another version of Terraform.